Hello, and welcome to Bloom and Beyond. I'm Courtney, and today's episode is titled, Welcome to Your Life, Reflections from the Class of 1985. This year marks 40 years since I graduated from high school. Class of 1985, 40 years. That number feels surreal because I can still remember so much from back then. How the lockers slammed, walking through the halls, lunch in the cafeteria, football and basketball games, cheerleading, band, choir, hanging out with friends, cruising around in our cars, and how everything felt big, permanent, almost urgent. And yet somehow we've lived an entire lifetime since then. Shortly after graduation, maybe a week later, I was driving alone. It was summer, had the windows down on my red Mustang, and it was such a sunny, beautiful day. And a song came on the radio that made me grip the steering wheel just a little bit tighter. Welcome to your life. There's no turning back. Tears for Fears. Everybody wants to rule the world. And in that moment, it hit me. This is it. This is real life starting. No more teachers, no more bells, no more asking permission. I would be leaving home for college in less than 2 months. The grown-up world was here whether I was ready for it or not. And that moment stuck. I still remember exactly where I was, and that lyric felt profound at 17, and somehow it still does at 57. I vividly remember that moment, and I also thought, wow, I wonder if these thoughts will stick with me years from now. And they have. The 80s had a way of doing that, of speaking truth into pop music. We had soundtracks for every emotion, and they weren't curated by an algorithm. They came from movies, FM radio stations, mixtapes that we made by hand, and songs that we waited hours to hear again on the radio. We grew up in the era of actual waiting, of effort. Unless you had a record or a tape, you couldn't just listen to a song. You had to wait. We learned patience by living that way, though. I grew up in the Midwest, and most of my teen years were spent in one high school, from 7th through 11th grade, before moving at the end of my junior year. I finished my senior year somewhere else, and while I know that sounds like it could have been really challenging, I loved my senior year. Not only did I have friends from my previous high school, but I made amazing new friends after moving. I always saw the benefits of moving, of meeting new people, finding new experiences, expanding my horizon, so I embraced it. There's a reason that the 80s decade lives on in memes and Halloween costumes and tribute playlists. The 80s were more than a decade. They were a full-blown mood. We had shoulder pads, Izod or alligator shirts and sweaters, and we wore them in layers upon layers. We had lip gloss that tasted like bubblegum and spiral hair perms. We wore jeans by Calvin Klein, Gloria Vanderbilt, and Jordache. We loved Esprit clothing and bags, Benetton, Swatch watches, and jelly shoes. And the music, it shaped us. Prince, The Cure, Bon Jovi, Madonna, Phil Collins, R.E.M., Journey, AC/DC, The Outfield, The Beastie Boys, Duran Duran, The Go-Go's. I could literally go on and on. Every beat, every bass line, every lyric was part of our identity. And the movies, John Hughes didn't just create characters, he documented us. We were weird like Gary and Wyatt, just wanting to fit in and be popular. Dorky but endearing like Farmer Ted, and hopeful like Samantha Baker. I am one of those girls who waited for my Jake Ryan to come get me, and truthfully, I am still waiting for Jake. We didn't need polished heroes. We needed characters who got it wrong, wore the wrong thing, said the wrong thing, but ended up winning in the end. I love a happy ending, And maybe that's why I like Hallmark movies now. Everything is predictable and it always ends up happy. We didn't grow up on screens, no cell phones. Our mistakes weren't recorded. Our heartbreaks weren't shared in real time. And I am so grateful that some of my more crazy moments were not captured on video, coming back to haunt me all these years later. We did take lots of pictures, and those are our connection. And maybe that's why the memories feel deeper. They weren't captured by cell phone video. They were lived all the way through. We grew up with a kind of freedom that's hard to explain to anyone who didn't live it. We made our own fun. We figured things out on our own. And we knew how to be bored, really bored, which taught us how to daydream, how to imagine, and how to hope. All the kids in my neighborhood played together, all ages, from the very littles to high school kids. We played Ghost in the Graveyard. We played kickball and games that we created, all the while including all ages and helping each other. The music, the friendships, the cringy outfits, the first loves, the disappointments that felt like the end of the world, but you find out that they actually weren't. They were all a part of it, part of becoming. And while the world looks wildly different now, that moment, driving down a road with Everybody Wants to Rule the World on the radio, still lives in me. It reminds me that life was always waiting. The doors were always opening, even when we didn't know what was on the other side. Days I'm having a rough go of it, I need to remember how I felt that summer of 1985 and how I had my whole life ahead of me and the world was mine. And know that there's still time for me to make a difference in the world, whether I'm 17 or 57. So here's to 1985. To the music, the awkwardness, the friendships, and the fun. To every one of us who set out to rule the world or just get through it the best that we could. We may be 40 years out, but we were there, and that means something. I attended the 20th class reunion of the school that I spent up through 11th grade at. I had so much fun. I went with my best friend, and we didn't bring our husbands or our kids. It was just us. Her parents were still living there, so we stayed with them, sleeping in what was one of her older brother's bedroom, talking and laughing all night, almost as if we were still in high school, and we had the absolute best time. I will not be attending either of my reunions this summer, but I feel like the one that I attended 20 years ago, it can't be beat anyway. If you are a class of 85 and you're attending a reunion this summer, I hope you have so much fun and that you relive the memories of a special time, one that we will never experience again. We are all so lucky to have lived at such an incredible time in history. Thank you for listening.